Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Royal Instinct. Today, we're going to be watching a couple of videos on why the West is falling, why the West is doomed, and why your friends don't really care about you. Okay, we are living in interesting times. We are living in difficult times. We are living in times of crises. The elites have sold us down the river. The elites are stealing out of your pocket. They are making sure that you will suffer because the future that they are building, the future that it is in front of us, is going to be one of doom and gloom. The reason for that is because the system is broken. Okay, inflation is out of control. Um, there is a mental health crisis. There is a crisis of loneliness. People have lost meaning, and we are here to reestablish connection. We are here to reestablish dominion over our own lives. We'll be taking back control and living the best lives possible. The way we do that is by finding out what your life purpose is, to find out your zone of genius, and making sure that you become a subject matter expert and end up becoming a king because you are a seen authority in your chosen field. Okay. And when you're seen as a chosen authority, you can establish yourself as a king. And once you are a king, you can then build your kingdom. But let's jump straight into this video.
So I know that you flock this channel because I am such a sunny and optimistic person.
He's trying to be funny. He's clearly using the past histories of the world to establish and predict some type of future. However, he is just guessing. Okay, do not take everything he says for gospel. He does say some very, very smart things. However, he cannot be sure for certain.
I bring cheer in a world of gloom. You may face some difficulties in your life, but you know that when you watch my videos, I'm going to tell you how great the world is.
He is being sarcastic because every video that he ever releases, it is doom and gloom. It is the end of the world crises, and he is always the person predicting it, making people believe that he is some kind of oracle, that he is some kind of genius. However, he is just looking back into the past to pull that data and to extrapolate it into the future. That can be easily done. He has built a life purpose around it by guessing what the future holds. Why do people flock to him? Why do people watch his channel? It is because most people have lost meaning in their lives, and we are here to give it back to them. Okay. You also have to understand is that this guy used to, I believe, teach in American universities. However, he now works in China, I believe in Beijing, possibly Shanghai, and he is a CCP asset. Okay, his channel is through the lens of CCP, Chinese Communist Political Party propaganda.
Unfortunately, today it's all going to be doom and gloom. I'm going to talk about how the Western world is going to collapse, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. So let me start with a concrete example. I live in Canada, and these past few years, I've just seen Canadian society get worse and worse. And a lot of the issue is this relentless immigration.
Why does it help him to paint the West as a falling society, as a failing society? Is because that makes the CCP, the China project, the Chinese economy look better in comparison, that they are not experiencing these problems of immigration, of assimilating different cultures into a melting pot, who go up against each other and end up fighting for dominance, which he correctly explains. However, China has its own problems. China is not unique to the doom of the world.
Past 5 years, millions of people have come into this country seeking a better life. Unfortunately, they congregate in only a few cities where there are economic opportunities. And as a result, housing prices have gone up, inflation has gone up, Cost of living has gone up, but wages have been stagnant or depressed because of the surge in cheap labor. And in Toronto, if you're not making at least $100,000 a year, it's very hard to get by. And quite frankly, most are not making that kind of money, and most are struggling. So crime has gone up, homelessness has gone up, drug addiction has gone up. It's a very dire situation in Canada. Now, it's easy to blame the immigrants. And I don't think the reason are the immigrants. I myself am an immigrant, so maybe I'm biased. But I will say that um, we came over in about 1983, and my dad was a high school teacher in a village in Canada. Sorry, my dad was a high school teacher in our village back in China. And we were really thankful for our opportunity to come to Canada. And we felt really blessed because life back in China was just terrible. It's really hard for anyone today to imagine the poverty in China.
So he is making sure that he gets in the historically accurate account of how bad it used to be in China and why he originally fled China. But as you watch more and more of his content, you will see his bias towards modern China and China's future and the CCP's future. Do not be don't buy into this propaganda that a lot of these people are selling. Make sure that you come up with your own narrative, that you are able to see the false versus the fictions in society. A lot of the people will try to sell you a dream in order to capture your attention so that you become a consumer of their product, whether it's even if it's free YouTube videos online. They want you addicted to their content.
Back then, during the Cultural Revolution. But let me give you a concrete example. 15 years ago, my dad came to visit me in Beijing when I was working as a high school administrator. And he bought an entire duffel bag, a huge duffel bag of toilet rolls, 24 toilet rolls. And the reason why is toilet paper was considered the...
So he's basically setting it up for how his father still had the old view of China, that he needed to bring his own duffel bag full of toilet paper. However, the reality is that China has since then advanced, and how the modern perception of China is still is now wrong, and that the China is much more advanced than its European and Western counterparts.
Luxury back in our village during the Cultural Revolution. And so maybe he wanted to give these toilet rolls to all his relatives and show everyone that he's made it in Canada. Well, the problem was that he had a very hard life in Canada, as most recent immigrants do. He was a dishwasher for his entire life. And as a dishwasher working in restaurants and bars, he encountered a lot of racism and humiliation. So let me give you an example. One day,
here at Raw Instinct, we do not subscribe to humiliation. We only work with people who appreciate us for who we are, and people who can understand what it is that I'm doing. For example, I get a load of hate comments when I make these videos because most people do not understand what it is that I'm trying to do. I am sending out a bat signal. I am sending out an invitation to assemble the Avengers, to bring together geniuses across the world into a single space and teach them the raw instinct way to bring about their kingly divinity. Okay, we are trying to establish kings. Why do I want to establish kings? Because who else would you want to be the fuck friends with? Okay, you need to be friends with kings, with people with influence, and we are starting from ground zero, building a way up, building mega structures. We are building the next civilizations, and people will be flocking to come and live in our kingdoms, right? We'll be building side by sides, creating an allegiance to one another, an alliance of kings who are ready to fight next to each other against the evil tyranny that the world will be under.
Today, my dad and I went to a supermarket to buy some butter. We couldn't find the butter because our supermarket was just huge. So my dad, he saw a clerk wearing his uniform, his white uniform, and my dad asked him, "Sorry, sir, do you know where the butter is?" Okay, I mean, his English isn't that great though, but it was pretty easy to understand what my dad wanted. The store clerk looks at him briefly and says, "Sorry, I don't work here." Okay, so that's the sort of humiliation that my dad faced every day as a new immigrant in Canada who didn't have any status and whose English wasn't very good. We were very poor in.
Did I just miss something? Like, so he asked somebody who looked like they worked there, and they said, "I don't work here." Yeah, maybe he works in a different store. Maybe, you know, his clothes just look like the uniform of that store. I don't know. I just, that was a bit of an odd story that he pulled out. He said his English wasn't great. Maybe he said something that wasn't related. I don't know. I am not buying it. Let's jump into this other video I wanted to show you.
Party because I was not able to afford the very expensive bachelorette party. Going all in for the bachelorette would have cost.
So this video is about how your friends don't give a shit about if you go broke. They just want you to be there for them, to be there for their fun events, for their good times. However, instead of inviting you to a good time, they expect you to pay for it, and then they get to enjoy your company as well. I believe that if you invite somebody to a party, if you invite somebody to your house, that you owe it to your guests to take care of them. If you invite somebody out for a meal, it should be you, the person giving the invitation, paying. If you're inviting somebody to come with you on holiday, you know, I guess it's fair that they pay for their accommodation and their travel. However, once they're there, you should treat them to food and entertainment, because it is you who gave the invitation to. Okay, if it's a group thing that you, all of you, kind of agreed upon to make a trip, then it's fair that you split it equally. However, most people will lure you into coming along, spending all your money, so that they get to have a good time, and they don't really care for your well-being, for you to be there. They just care that they just want to create numbers to go along with whatever it is they want to do.
About what my mortgage costs.
The most difficult kind of person to be friends with is someone who is in a very different financial position than you are. Like, I think it's very rare for a friendship to work out when one person is way richer than the other.
Yeah, that makes it very difficult, because if you have one person who's much more wealthier off, they have a different attitude to frivolous spending, to you know, buying things like food, going out. It's just because it's nothing to them, because they have so much money, right? Whereas, like, if you are making less, then you're always thinking, right, you know, in terms of what your budget is that you're allocating to eating out or having fun or going out. That is not the position that I want you to be in. That is the position of peasants. We want to become kings. We want to have enough money where we are able to buy whatever it is that we want, spend it on any luxury goods that we desire. And to do that, the way we do it here is by becoming subject matter experts. So people pay for our expertise, and we are seen as geniuses. And once we are seen as geniuses and have enough authority, we will be building kingdoms, and then we will be naturally seen as kings. Okay, I want you to strive for the most money, not just to get by and have shit friendships.
Think of filet mignon or sequel tower tonight.
Bro, I'm staying in. I gotta save.
You don't.
Do you ever feel like your friends might be hurting your finances? Like, I know that sounds so harsh and cutthroat to say, but be honest with yourself. Have you ever had moments where you felt like your friends were either holding you back or sabotaging you or pushing you to spend way beyond your means? Like in one of the videos I just showed, where the woman was kicked out of her former friend's bachelorette party because she couldn't afford the trip's required expenses. That story got even even wilder, by the way, when the friend gossiped about the woman afterwards.
Of course, word came back to me at the bachelorette party that she was talking mad shit about me, and then she later kicked me out of the bridal party.
Now that seems like a uniquely terrible.
I mean, if somebody is willing to kick you out of their bridal party because you can't afford it, then they're not a very empathetic person. They're not a very good friend to you, and you need to kick people like that out of your lives. Okay, we are here at Raw Instinct. We make the best friends. We only spend time with people who genuinely have our backs, people who appreciate who we are, people who appreciate that what we can do in this world. And that is the people that I want to spend time with. That is the people I encourage you to hang around with. Don't be treated, especially by your own friends, as a second-class citizen. We are creating the Amicis, which is Italian for friends, here at Royal Instinct. Join us and become an Amici.
Terrible experience and terrible friend, but I've seen the same kind of issue pop up a lot with weddings and friendships, where the people getting married expect huge financial commitments from their friends.
If you're the one getting married, then you should be paying for your friends to come and enjoy your party, your celebration. Okay, it shouldn't be a strain put on them to come and celebrate for you,
Who might not want to or be able to pay for that, especially for someone else's wedding.
This one's $350 a night for the wedding.
That seems excessive for a twin bed.
Weddings are a great example of where this financial clash can happen between friends, but it also happens in small daily moments. And as I want to make an argument for in this video,
This is why the West is collapsing. Okay, everything is becoming financial, everything is becoming transactional, right? People are being suppressed in terms of economic resources that they have because inflation is just out of control, and that is how the elites want it. They want you to feel the strain. They want you to be isolated and lonely and have less friends, and then they can control you more and more, because once you are without friends, once you are without money, the government becomes the only person that you can rely on.
ultimately think that your friends do not care if you go broke. Again, sounds harsh, but hear me out, because it's an important lesson to understand if you want to be financially free one day. Other people will never care about your financial goals, or honestly your life, the way that you need to care about.
She has a point. Nobody else will care as much about you as you will yourself. So why would you allow a government, a higher power, to have dominion, make decisions on behalf over your life? That is not what freedom is. Once I realized that, when I was working in the corporate world, I decided that this is what life wasn't for me, that I want total control, total freedom over my own decisions, over my own life. And that is why here at Raw Instinct, I am leaving the system. I'm leaving the system behind to create my own system. I'm becoming the head of a nation. I'm becoming the head of my kingdom by crowning myself king. And I encourage you to do the same, so that you can live life like a king, so that you can have real freedom in your life.
Your own, which is exactly why you have to be your own advocate. And to do so, you have to be aware of the unintentional traps friends can lay for you that will keep you broke. And the trap that I want to focus on the most today is the financial peer pressure trap. But before I get into that, since we're talking about affordability and spending, I want to take a minute to talk about today's sponsor. Upload your receipt to Mary. You can then also literally get reward point cards. The process is made even sponsoring today's video. All right, so back to the financial peer pressure trap. By that, I mean the slow, quiet way your spending habits start to mirror the habits of those around you, especially the most expensive norms in your friend group.
So we'll see you tomorrow. On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
You know that quote that goes, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with"? The same goes for money habits.
Yeah, you'll realize that if you hang around with uber wealthy people, you will feel quite uncomfortable, because the way they talk about spending money is just out of your belief system. It is out of your reality, and you aren't able to keep up, because if somebody buys you like a round of drinks or food, you do want to reciprocate as a good human, as a good friend, and then if you just can't afford to reciprocate at the same level that they are paying for you, then you will feel uncomfortable, and it will make you feel lesser than, and it will make you think twice about your friendship, because the power dynamic in that friendship will be off balance, and that is not a good place to be. Okay, I want you to become uber wealthy so that you can walk into any room and feel financially secure and not feel not threatened. And I want you to have the best friends that the world can find.
Spending is the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if your friends are into flexing their new car, or they care a lot about the newest fashion trends and name brands, or they love to stay in fancy hotels on vacation, their behaviors and mindsets are going to bleed into your life. They're going to make what could subjectively be high-class luxury living look and feel like the
Or some people like to say, a champagne lifestyle on a lemonade budget. I do not want you to be on a lemonade budget. I want you to be sipping that Moet, that Ace of Spades. I want you to be living that best life.
obvious default, like the thing that you need to be doing too. I think of the financial peer pressure trap like mindset osmosis almost, where we're absorbing other people's money outlooks. And we do this because we're social creatures. We learn through the norms set and reinforced by others. So if you're in an environment that prioritizes spending beyond your means, then spending beyond your means is probably what you're gonna do. And what I think is really interesting is that because our culture makes talking about money so taboo, it means we are all terrible at setting financial boundaries, at saying, you know, maybe let's not go to the restaurant tonight because it's out of my budget. Instead, we're more likely to keep our mouths shut and deal with the financial pain.
Just walking out of your house costs money these days. If you are meeting up with friends over coffee, the price of coffee is out of this world right now. People are able to charge high prices for any convenience that used to be just a normal price is now becoming a luxury good. Having friends is becoming a luxury good. People want you, the elites want you plugged into the system, into the metaverse. They want you online in a 15-minute city so that you are easier to control.
Because we don't want to be the squeaky wheel, or because we're embarrassed to tell our friends about our financial boundaries. But if we're all doing that, it's like the blind leading the blind. Someone might offhand recommend a restaurant, but everyone is secretly thinking, eek, I can't afford that. But no one else is saying anything, so I guess I'll go along with it. Or if you have different income levels in a friend group, the problem can be made even worse because the friends who make more money have one version of what is normal spending that may be way beyond what other friends' version of normal spending is. So now the friends who make less money are put into a stressful and uncomfortable situation. It's like the scene from the old...
Yeah, it will make you feel uncomfortable. It will make you feel less than. Do not find yourself in a situation like that. Every person in the world has something that is unique about them. You may have something that you are interested in, a passion, something that you are excited about, that you are able to delve in deeper because it feels like play to you, and that is your zone of genius. That is what you can uncover to produce your own unique perspective, genius level thinking, and bring that forward to the world. Because in a group of 10 billion people across the globe, you will find the right people who are able to help you, who are able to buy from you, who are able to work with you in order to create something new, something better than the current system, being produced by the current system, basically. That is the position I want you to be in. Find your zone of genius, and then the money will follow you. And then once the money follows, it will be easy for you to establish a kingdom and crown yourself a king. Go for it. Don't allow finances to be a constraint on you.
Old show, Man Seeking Woman.
Hell yeah. Place has $4 signs on Yelp, so you know it's good.
It's gonna be so much fun.
I don't think I can afford this. Relax, man. How expensive could it be?
No, thank you. Tap water.
And just watch this scene, and it gets kind of awkward because he clearly can't afford to be there. He can't afford to eat at that place or spend that type of money, and his behavior is very defensive. He's trying to be as conservative as possible, and it just becomes he's acting cheap, basically, right? And nobody wants to be seen as cheap. And it becomes very, very socially awkward for him and everybody that is with him.
which is great because then you can just get whatever you want, as much as you want, and we'll just split the bill at the end.
Well, we split it.
Nightmare situation, by the way, because they're at tapas, which means everything is going to be split. Usually, I'm not a big fan of equally splitting the bill at a restaurant. I would rather it be divided by how much you specifically ordered. But things like tapas or dim sum or anything family style like that, it's really hard to avoid splitting equally. So I feel for them in that scene. And that same kind of scene happens more famously during Friends, where Phoebe, Rachel, and Joey speak up to let the rest of the gang know that they can't afford the constant expensive outings.
We three feel like that, sometimes you guys don't get that,
You know, obviously this is a comedy. They're trying to make a joke of it, but talking about finances with your friends, especially if they can easily afford something, is an uncomfortable conversation to have, and that is something that I do not want for you. I want you to be able to spend freely and not think twice about going out for dinner and spending time or money on food with your friends.
we don't have as much money as you.
Guess I just never think of money as an issue.
That's because you have it.
That's a good point.
And then you can just see that tone that Rachel just put on Ross. I don't see it from that point of view. And she goes, "That is because you have it." That attitude, that is not nice either. He is in a position where he doesn't have to think about it. Just because you have something that you shouldn't feel bad about having that thing over somebody else. And then, it should inspire you to make more money so that you can not think about finances in the same vein.
I don't think most friends are being malicious in this situation. I think as a general rule, we struggle to see things from other people's perspectives until they're shared with us. If we make a lot of money, a $50 dinner might be run of the mill for us. It might barely cross our minds. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you are trying to pay back predatory debt or you recently got laid off, well, your financial situation is so different. That same $50 dinner might be the difference between having groceries this week or not. And unless someone's been in that situation before, or that is their current financial reality, they might not realize how stressful a friend outing can be. Honestly, despite taking a while to get to the point, Joey handled the conversation with the Friends gang pretty well. He made it clear that there's just a difference in how much money the friends have. Meanwhile, our guy from Man Seeking Woman handled things a little differently.
Oh, enough!
This guy is clearly having a meltdown, but you have to look into it. Why is he having a meltdown if other people are spending money and the bill is going to be split? It is also part of it because it is attacking his self-esteem, and he is experiencing an inferiority complex in that moment, where he realizes he's not in the position that those people are in, and it is hurting his pride to the point of where he is having a meltdown.
Can't you see? Can't any of you see? Well, open your eyes and get ready, because there's a bill coming, and none of you are ready for it. This meal is expensive.
By the way, I cannot listen to that actor without picturing Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon the entire time. Dude's voice is iconic. Anyways, back to the financial peer pressure trap. I would argue that the central problem of all of this is that when you're in the trap, the financial tone of your life is being set by others. You're not spending intentionally because other people's norms are influencing you, and your financial boundaries aren't defined enough to push back. What makes it such a trap is that it often doesn't feel like reckless or irresponsible in the moment. It often feels normal. It feels social, it feels like belonging, especially since the very norms around socializing, even more so in places like the US where free third spaces are very rare, often dictates a certain amount of spending money. Grabbing food instead of cooking, meeting at the bar instead of hanging at someone's house, walking around to Target to shop because we don't have parks or walkable cities. That frustrates me so much, by the way. Like, why can't we just...
And that frustration is going to be growing more and more and more because the elites, if you just follow what the World Economic Forum are trying to say, they are planning for a future where, they're building 50-minute cities in order to cut carbon emissions to make the world a more carbon neutral area. However, it just entraps you. While the elites will still be flying around the world in their private jets, it will just limit you to spend time in your little city. And when people don't have any external spaces to walk around in, they will just end up staying indoors and being plugged into metaverse and spending more and more time online, rotting their brain by watching more TikTok shorts, the algorithms dictating what they believe, what they see. And the elites will be basically blinding you, putting the blinders on so you could just see your little screen, and in the background they'll be taking away all your properties, all your rights, all your freedoms, and they'll be partying up with Jeffrey Epstein on private islands.
Have walkability, please. I don't want to have to drive everywhere. I want to be able to walk to my grocery store or to my friend's house, or at least have reliable public transportation that can take me there, please. Anyways, I need to rant about that more fully in a future video, but just know that it is not just your friends that set the financial tone of your life. Larger systems like a city's urban planning also play a major role in setting financial tone. So what can you do in the midst of all this? Just not have friends? Just become like SpongeBob in that one episode where he hides out and filters?
Well, most people don't have any friends anymore. They are more and more isolated because it is just too expensive. Even if you look at the dating market is crashing. Men aren't participating anymore. And why are they not participating? Because you have to pay to play. Women are taught from a young age on chivalrous notions of the man paying, the man being provider. However, in a world where a man can't earn a living to provide, he therefore is seen by society as losing his status as a man. His masculinity is questioned and people see him less than. Okay, that is why here at Royal Instinct we are building our own fortresses. We are building our own private islands where no children will be harmed, Jeffrey Epstein style, where we will keep the people safe, our citizens safe. We will keep ourselves, our friends and family safe. And once we establish our own lands for our protection, we can then summon and work with other genius level talent to come up with new solutions, to come up with new ways of making the world a better place. And we will be the de facto rulers of civilization.
Feeds all day.
And so I've simply decided I am never leaving my house again.
What about eating?
I'm a sponge. I'll just filter feed.
As fun as that looks, I mean, I'm sure Penny has some fire jokes. That is not what I'm saying you have to do. I'm not even saying don't spend money with friends. You can still go to restaurants or on fancy trips with your buddies, but the difference is that you need to create a plan and rules for yourself. Let's take this person's situation as an example.
This is going to be a story time about my best friend who's not my friend anymore because I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars to go to Hawaii for her birthday. And like I had told her like, yeah, like I'm going to go, like, I'm going to make it work, like whatever, da, da, da. And then I just literally could not make it work. Like I was like going to be in debt over this Hawaii trip, like thousands of dollars. So then I sent her a nice text message.
And that is the situation that the elites want you to be in. They want you to be indebted for choices that you make by spending on items of consumption, on trips. This person might have had to take out a credit card or a loan to end up paying for that trip, and then they would have been in debt for a very long time, probably at a high interest rate, paying off that loan for a very long time. And this person was just like, I've had enough, I don't want to be involved. And their friend couldn't understand. Their friend then punished them. Their friend was rude to them. In the end, they lost that friendship over this financial matter.
Basically, like, just gauging the situation, like, whatever, like, I hope you have a good time in Hawaii, like, I love you, I'm sorry I couldn't make it, whatever. Never responds. So yesterday I was a little bit tipsy, and I texted her, and I was like, hey, babe, like, I love you. I think it's silly for us to fight because I couldn't afford to go to Hawaii, like, let's make up. Left me on red.
The story is really unfortunate because it seems like the root of the problem is not communicating financial expectations. On both sides, like a whole friendship was destroyed because of budget differences and not being upfront about them. And I sympathize with both sides, you know? I would also be bummed if I was organizing a birthday vacation with my friends and they couldn't come, especially if at first it seemed like they could. I think you shouldn't commit to big trips like that until you know whether you can afford it or whether it's your cup of tea. Because people plan around your decision, and if you back out of it, it does impact them.
And with higher and higher prices and more inflation, with economic collapse around you, you're going to see more and more of these problems. People have expectations of you that they want you to fulfill as their friend. And that shit will cost money. And when you can't afford it, when you can't step up to the plate to contribute financially, they will see you as an outsider. They will see you as failing their friendship. They will see it as a personal slight. Don't be put into that position. Protect yourself before the coming doom, before the oncoming economic collapse. I mean, you just saw it this weekend. The crypto market, you know, last week really tanked. That is a early sign of what's to come in the stock market. I believe there will be a big correction in the stock market later this year. And when that happens, many people will be losing their pensions, losing their savings, and people will be in a shit situation.
At the same time though, I get how frustrating and disappointing it would be to have a friend not understand that I just can't afford the same things that she can. I'd feel really misunderstood in that situation, like I was being punished for not having as much money as my friend. And that's not fair. That's not how friends should treat each other. It's tough on both sides, and it highlights why it is so important for each of us to learn how to communicate financial boundaries and expectations with others. Because as I said earlier, and as I will say again, your friends do not care if you go broke because it's not their job to. It's their job to respect your decisions, but it is not their job to make sure that you stay on track financially. That is your job, and we can't expect the people around us to adapt to our personal finance goals. And so it becomes our responsibility to protect our finances and advocate for ourselves. So how do we do that? Here are a few practical ways to protect your finances without blowing your relationships. First, decide your money limits before you're in the moment. Most financial peer pressure overspending happens because we are deciding in real time with people watching. It is hard to do a calculation of what's in the budget and then create a plan while you're also hanging out with people. So go into social situations having set your own spending boundaries ahead of time. How often you'll eat out, what you'll spend on trips, how much you're willing to put toward weddings and gifts. When you've already decided that privately, it is so much easier to say no publicly. Speaking of saying no, second, remember that no is a complete sentence and stop over explaining it. You do not need to monologue to.
You need to draw up your own boundaries. You need to establish rules for yourself that people can follow. Once you become a king, once you see yourself as a king, once you present yourself as a king, people will naturally see you as an authority. They will naturally see you as the king that you are, and they will naturally be much more subservient towards you and respect your boundaries. And then friendships are very easy to maintain because people will feel blessed to be in your presence. And that is the position that I want you to find yourself in.
Justify your budget every time. A simple, that's not in the budget right now, or I'm prioritizing something else financially is enough. This isn't about being short with people, by the way. It's more to do with the fact that the more you explain, the more it sounds like negotiation. But you don't want to negotiate here. You want to stick to your financial goals. Third, offer alternatives instead of just disappearing. I mentioned this in my recent video about my 10 unsexy habits for saving money, but
this sounds like it's becoming a negotiation video, negotiating with your friends video. Don't have friends that you need to negotiate with. Have friends who are understanding, friends who have your back when shit hits the fan. When you are having financial problems, have friends that can chip in and help you navigate those financial problems. That is why you need to be friends with other kings like myself. Join the Amicis, people who have your best interest at heart, who want you to do well and will help you achieve your goals, whatever they may be. That is the community we're building here. That is the alliance of kings that we're building here. Join us here at Raw Instinct and become a king.
the social planner with your friend group. When you offer ideas for hangouts, you get to set the financial tone. You get to suggest lower cost options like coffee instead of drinks or potluck at home instead of dinner out. And if your friends consistently decline your lower cost options and they only ever want to do expensive hangouts, then they might just be bad friends, or you have to categorize them as a very specific type of friends. And it's good to know that information, because the fourth way that you can protect your finances is to pay attention to which of your friends respect your boundaries. Supportive friends might be surprised at first, maybe they'll ask, "Are you sure?" But ultimately, they'll adjust. On the other hand, the wrong friends will guilt you, minimize your goals, or make jokes at your expense.
Yeah, I mean, those type of friends, people who make jokes at your expense, you want to get away with them because they will poison drip you, and they will chip away at your own self-worth, your own self-esteem, and slowly it will make you feel very uncomfortable to be around that person because they are the source of your anxiety, of your depression, of your problems in your life, the way you see yourself. Become friends with uplifting people, people who understand your situation, and people who want to build and expand and get better at life.
That reaction tells you everything that you need to know, not about your worth or whether your goals are good goals to have, but about the role that money plays in those relationships and whether someone is someone that you want to have in your life moving forward. And
Yeah, most people are just friends with people that they work with or that they went to school with. And because you are two people who are in a situation where you have to converse with each other, you end up becoming best friends because of the situations that you found yourselves in, right? Now, because of the internet, you have access to everybody in the world, 10 billion people in the world, and you should, like myself, send out the bat signal of assemble the Avengers, find the heroes in the world, find the people that you want to fight side by side with in order to create the world that you want to see, the world that you want to build. When you are a king, when you are at the top, when you are living your best life, who would you want to be friends with, right? It will be other kings like myself, like the other kings at Royal Instinct. You need to do better, find the better people. I for every negative comment I get, right, for every 5 negative comments, I'll find one person who's just like a delight to be around. They are super smart. They understand what we're building here. They have real insight to contribute. Those are the people that I want to find. Those are the people that I want to work with. I do not want to have to negotiate with anyone about how we should treat our friendship. A friendship should be two people who have similar sort of values, who understand each other's goals, who think similarly and want the same things for one another. Those are the best people in the world. Those are the people that I want to work with. Those are the people that I want to get to know, and you should do likewise.
last but not least, remember that being uncomfortable now is way better than being stressed later. A few awkward moments are far less costly than years of credit card debt, financial anxiety, or forever delaying your goals. You have to remind yourself that every time you protect your finances, you are choosing long-term freedom over short-term approval. So yes, your friends don't care if you go broke, but that's okay because you care if you go broke.
You should have friends who do care that if you go broke, they need to be fighting side by side, especially with the coming collapse and the crap future that the elites are building for you.
Going to look out for your financial future, and you are building the skill set to reach financial freedom. And that is most important. But what do you think? Do you have...
And that was great insight of the current situation of the friendship market, of the friendship world. Most people see you as a commodity. Most people have main character syndrome where they see themselves as a main character and you are a supporting cast member. Do not be a supporting cast member in somebody else's life. Find friends who see you as an equally part of the main cast, people who want to build a great story for yourselves, a great tale that you can tell your future generations. Go on great adventures and build side by side and live your best lives.
For welfare, but we didn't apply for welfare because we didn't know welfare existed. I remember late at night, my dad would sneak out across the street and pick up some sofas or chairs that the neighbors had discarded, and they would become our furniture. My dad cut my hair So believe it or not, but when I was younger, my hair was actually worse than it is today. And so the kids made fun of me. I had bad hair, uneven hair. My mom bought me clothes from bargain outlets, so they were crappy clothes. They weren't Nike or Adidas that the other kids were wearing, and I smelled bad. So understandably, the other kids teased me. I was very unpopular. So I focused on school. I focused on getting out of poverty. And through hard work, I went to Yale University on a full scholarship.
However, even with all the hard work, even with all the studying, he is still seen as a smelly kid by the elites who he is then hired to educate the children of these elites. Okay, always remember that, unless you are part of that group, they will see you as lesser than, they will see you as an outsider, and they will treat you just how he was treated when he was a child. And the other kids will make fun of you. Surround yourself with people who have your best interest, who will not make fun of you. Surround yourself with people who you can build with to establish a kingdom, to become uber wealthy. We are becoming the new elites. We are making the decisions now. We are building a more prosperous world than the current elites. We are the new world order. We will be glorious in victory.
And that opened new doors, new vistas for me. And so I really achieved the Canadian dream. And if it weren't for Canada, if it weren't for Yale, I wouldn't be able to make YouTube videos. So I'm very thankful for Canada.
And that's a great point that he just made. He was some smelly kid who other people made fun of, and then through education he was able to get a great job, and then he was able to make a lot of money and become a YouTuber. You may be somebody who doesn't know how you can make money by becoming a subject matter expert, but by becoming a genius. It is called going into the darkness. You have to make the first step into the forest. You can't see where you're going. You just have to have the bravery. You have to have the confidence to go forward, despite what society might say, despite what you might encounter. Okay, you have to encounter something along the way. You have to beat your fears. You have to get over your fears. And along the path that you choose to follow, you will make new insights. You will gain new experience to bring you forward. And that is how you can become wealthy. That is how you can make money and live a new and better, prosperous life.
And for Yale. So again, we're really thankful for the opportunity to come. But the reality is, there's just too many immigrants coming into.
And that is another thing that you find is like if you're an immigrant, right? Once you become an established part of the community, you don't want more immigration, right? Like me, myself, my parents were immigrants to Europe, to England. I spent time in Germany. Now, as an adult, like I don't want no more immigrants, right? Because you can see the problems that they cause, right? Like, and the other thing is, like, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, situations were different. The number of immigrants was very low, so they brought with them labor, a desire to work, and they made positive contributions to society. Whereas now it feels like the job market is already oversaturated. The types of jobs immigrants do are low labor work, and those jobs are being slowly eroded, slowly replaced. And because there's less money floating around in the economy, those jobs are disappearing at a faster rate. Every job now is a gig economy job, right? It's not like when my great grandfather came, worked in a factory, in a foundry here in Britain. It is becoming just overpopulated, and the quality of immigrants that are coming now to Western countries is becoming of a lower and lower standard, and they are bringing society down. They are bringing about more and more problems.
This country, and what's really happening is, even though you may have some short-term economic GDP bursts, ultimately you're degrading the social capital, trust, and cohesion of.
Basically, there's a breakdown of the social fabric, and society doesn't feel like society anymore. You feel more and more isolated. You feel isolated from the people around you. You feel isolated from your communities. You feel isolated from the leaders in charge, because you see the decisions that they are making, and you get the feeling that it is not in the best interest of you as a person, as a native of that country, living in that economy. Okay, the system is broken. Okay, we are never going back to how it used to be. That is why I encourage you to come up with a new system, to build a new system, to become somebody who is the creator of a nation. Build your own nation, become a king, build your kingdom, and leave all these problems that are coming behind.
Of Canada. Ultimately, the Canadian identity has always been fragile. And all this massive influx of immigrants is making the identity much more fragile, which is in the long term going to affect Canada's capacity to work together, to innovate, to be resilient, to be cohesive as a society. Right now, a quarter, 25% of Canadians are foreign-born, first-generation immigrants like myself. So if there were ever a referendum and Canadians could choose whether or not to join the United States voluntarily, most of these immigrants would immediately say, let's join the United States because there are more economic opportunities. So in the long term, I don't see Canada staying together. I think Canada will ultimately be dismembered by the United States and be absorbed into the American empire in the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, what you might see is also, you have different immigrant groups getting a foothold in different areas in Canada, like around Vancouver, Surrey area. You have a large diaspora of a Punjabi Indian community, and then also around the Toronto, Brampton area, you have Punjabi Indian community there, and you have all these other types of Indians as well, who are now more and more part of society, and they are becoming increasingly higher tensions between the other ethnicities and the Indian ethnicities, and there's a lot of Indian hate in that culture right now.
I don't think Canada right now can be a sustainable nation. Now, it's really easy.
Canada has a lot of resources. It has its access to oil. It has a lot of trees. It has access to timber in terms of like building material. So I think Canada will be fine. It will always be a good supplier of fruit and other things. So I think Canada should be fine in the oncoming onslaught. However, there will be crossfires. There will be people who will get caught in the crossfire.
Easy to blame immigrants for all this. And most Canadians do, in fact, blame immigrants because that's what they encounter every day. They encounter immigrants not being able to speak English, not following the rules, cutting in line. They watch the news and see immigrants.
Didn't he say that his father couldn't speak good English, and then that guy in the store said it doesn't work, that he got upset? So, he knows what it feels like to be in that situation.
Crimes. They see immigrants, rich immigrants, buying up these expensive property and making life.
What I don't understand is, and I get why immigration, was needed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. What I don't get is now, in a more globalized world, if like if you have asylum seekers from Syria, for example, we should be able to go there, bring boots to the ground, bring the army in there, change that country, change the terrorist groups the government and install a new government so that the people don't have to end up moving out, that they can move back into their land and make those countries better. Because obviously, look, if you have a group of people like in India right now, if people want to leave that country, right, to go live abroad, right, and I'm saying this, and I'm Punjabi myself, right, then like maybe the British should take back India, sorry, right? Maybe America should take over India and make it a place where Indians actually want to live, make the economy better, and be able to live a more prosperous life. Because that's the only reason why people immigrate abroad.
Miserable for everyone. So it's really easy to blame immigrants. But ultimately, we need to understand why this immigration is happening. And it's happening because of the baby boomers. The baby boomers...
It's always the fucking baby boomers.
...want three things. They want their pensions to be paid. They want quality...
Yeah, if they want their pensions paid, then they need more people paying into the tax system, more people paying into the current financial infrastructure. And that is becoming less and less because birth rates are declining, and the elderly people can see the coming collapse. But because they're older, they can't do anything about it. The young people can see the economic collapse coming, and they are moving away out of the system, which is what we are doing here at Royal Instinct. We are moving away. We are creating our own systems so that when the future problems come along, we are isolated and we are well covered.
Free healthcare, and they want the property prices to go up. Basically, they want the Canadian economy to keep on growing and growing and growing, regardless of the consequences. Now, in order for the economy to grow, there are three main mechanisms to accomplish this. The first mechanism is to exploit resources, because Canada really is the wealthiest country in the world. It has abundant, almost infinite resources, especially fresh water, which is what the world is going to need in the next 100 years.
That is why we are coming up with technologies to turn seawater into fresh water, so it will become easier to drink. You know, the current problems, the future problems that the world will experience can be solved through technology, but we have to bring the right talent, the right people into the same room to make the discussions, to make things happen. And that is what we're going to be doing here at Royal Instinct. We're bringing together the smartest, the brightest, the most intelligent people across the world, the most talented, and we are coming up with new energy solutions to not be so reliant on fossil fuels like crude oil. We will be establishing a new energy system. We will be establishing a new water filtration system so that we can drink seawater easily. So then when shit hits the fan, we are isolated, and then in turn we can sell our new inventions over to the rest of the world in the collapsing economies.
So Canada's an extremely wealthy place, and it can choose to exploit and export a lot of these resources. Okay, that's a first solution. The second solution, which is much more sustainable, is to unleash the entrepreneurial energy of the Canadian people, to encourage more entrepreneurship, more privatization, to reduce the regulatory.
But that is not going to happen because most government want less entrepreneurship. They want more people relying on the system rather than coming up with creative ways to make their own money. They don't want you to become rich. They want you trapped in a system where they can tax you up to your eyeballs, and there's nothing you can do about it but to take it, be pegged straight up the arse.
State to reduce the red tape. Okay, that's the second solution. And the third solution is immigration. Let's let in more immigrants. Let's let in the rich immigrants to pour cash into the economy. Let's let in poor immigrants so that they work as slave labor for Canadian.
And there is the word. It is all about slave labor. It is all about creating a feudal class underneath the serfs who will be doing the manual jobs in order to provide and a functioning society for the uber elites at the top. up until the point where AI and robotics, AI robots are good enough to take over from humans. Then humans will be disposable and they will just be left to rot, probably taking them out via some sort of pandemic like we saw in 2020.
Corporations. So of these three solutions, the Kenyan government went with the third solution, increase immigration. Now, a lot of people out there believe that this is a conspiracy, that there's this global international conspiracy out there to dilute national identity.
Yeah, that conspiracy is called the Great Replacement. I mean, look into it. And there is a strong argument for the elites, because you have to understand this, the elites, even if they're white, they don't care about white people because they see themselves as a class above, so that they are isolated from the average person who is living in that nation. You know, that is how the elites see you. And, you know, I don't want you to be just a low class citizen of the world. I want you to be in full control of your own destiny. And to do that here at Royal Instinct, we establish our own kingdoms. We become geniuses. We become subject matter experts. And that is how we will survive the next phase of human evolution, the next coming doom. And we'll be the ones to usher in that next phase of human evolution. People will be coming to join our kingdoms because we will be the only real ones left who have the good intentions to take you know, to take care of the earth, to take care of people, to lead them to a better and more prosperous future. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are and how you are preparing for the oncoming doom. You know, stay safe, protect yourself, protect your loved ones, look out for like-minded people. And if you have that inner calling, that inner desire, reach out to me and let's